and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Council members Lennon.
Present.
Martin.
Here.
Polika.
Here.
Piana.
Here.
And Mayor Coulter.
Here, thank you. We do have a quorum this evening. Next item of business would be the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove item 4A until the next council meeting, please.
All right. Remove 4A. I understand 4F, the presentation from the library, is also not going to happen this evening, so we could add that removal as well. Any other changes to the agenda? Move up.
I make a motion.
For the regular agenda,
No.
I'm sorry.
Consent.
Sorry, for a consent agenda, the removal of F.
Consent agenda item F to be removed from the agenda. All right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Moved by Lennon, supported by Polika. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Council members Martin.
Yes.
Polika.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes.
Lennon.
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. The agenda as amended is adopted. So we'll move into our presentations. We still have several of them this evening, and the first one is a presentation on our summer day camp update. And Jill, our Recreation Director, are you going to introduce that item?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This past Friday, the 21st, wrapped up our 9-week summer day camp program. The kids had a wonderful summer, and we wanted to share with you kind of what we've been up to this summer with our summer day camp. I've invited Emmanuel Johnson here, our summer day camp director. He's going to share with you some of the highlights of this summer. Emmanuel has been with our camp program for 3 summers. This is his 2nd summer as our day camp director. So let's invite Emmanuel up.
Great. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Thank you. Good evening to you all.
Good evening.
So as Jill said, I'm the summer camp director. I've been here for the past 2 summers as the director, so I've had the reins of the program for the past 2 years. So I'm just here to give you a brief overview about some of the things that we do. If you direct your attention to the PowerPoint presentation, this is just a brief overview about us. We're a state license program. We run for 9 weeks, although there's been talk about us possibly going to a 10th week just because of the overwhelming demand that we've had from some of the parents and some of the campers that want to, because they had a tough time leaving last week. They loved the summer camp program. We run for ages 5 through 12 at the Keeley Community Center. The camp program is open from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then there's an aftercare portion that runs until 5:30 p.m. With our summer camp program, we like to focus on a wide variety of things. Obviously, it's a summer camp program. The main objective is to have fun, but within that, we want to make sure that we don't operate like a school. The school is there to build smart people. We're there to build good people. So we focus a lot on social development and making sure that the kids know how to react appropriately to adversity. So if there's an altercation at camp or something, we deal with that appropriately. We try to make sure that we implement an environment where the kids get along with each other and everybody's working and cooperating and working to accomplish certain tasks. We value respect a lot. That's respect for each other, respect for ourselves, respect for the community, respect for the equipment that we use, all of that stuff. We try to make sure that they have that instilled in them. I just say community, a sense of community, so that our kids know that they're a part of something. Like, we're geared like a family environment where anytime anybody has a problem, they can come to a counselor or come to me, or we'll sit them down and try to talk it out and figure out what's going on, just to make sure that they understand how to properly behave once they become adults and get into society and things like that. Overall health and safety, we want to make sure that we have an environment where parents feel comfortable bringing their kids and dropping them off with complete strangers, and that they feel comfortable that we'll do a good job in making sure that they're safe and all that stuff. Yeah. And a variety of activities and fun. So we pride ourselves on doing tons of different stuff. We're not a specific base program. We're not geared toward Legos. We're not geared toward sports. We're geared toward all types of things. So in doing so, we go on a field trip every week. Every week is a different theme. So like the first week was Get Active. With that, if you see right there, that is a group from the Phoenix free running company that came out and did a parkour demonstration for us, and they actually gave the kids a chance to exercise some of those parkour elements and stuff like that. And, we go swimming 3 times a week. We have a wide variety of arts and crafts that we do. We just got done doing some tie-dye shirts for Travels in Time. And, it's just overall a great experience for the kids. This is also from the first week, and this is some of you may have seen this on Facebook. We're very active in posting some of the stuff on Facebook to make sure that parents see what's going on and have an idea of what we do here. Is there a sound with it?
Spider-Man doesn't talk, does he?
So that was one of the guys from the parkour demonstration. He went and found a safe spot to change it to his costume. And
We thought that was Mike Lennon.
I'll never tell.
So yeah, when the kids saw him, like he came creeping out of nowhere, like around some cars, and they were just like, "Oh my God, Spider-Man!" Some kids were crying, like, "Oh my God, I met the real Spider-Man!" And yeah, just the overall like excellent moment for the kids, and that's something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. Our program is, just to give you an idea, our program is growing a lot. So since I came here in 2013, we were sitting at about $23,000. We've almost doubled that just because our product that we put out to the parents is so, they have a lot of faith in what we do and the way that we present ourselves. So we send out the parent newsletters and the parent handbooks, and we dictate everything that we're going to do within our program to make sure that their kids are safe and that they have some sense of social development throughout the program. And this is a result of that. And toward the end, this is what we want. I feel like if we go home and the kids are still active and playing and stuff at home, and we are still active and playing and stuff, then we haven't done our job. So this is what we want. And you can also
Wear them out.
And you can also see some of the positive feedback that we've gotten from our Facebook posts and things like that. We've gotten letters written to us for the saying we did a good job. I can't think of the word I'm trying to say. But, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Are there any questions or anything?
If you don't mind, yeah, I have a few.
Yeah.
Congratulations, first off. This seems like a really great program. You talked about the 10th week that you'd like to get to eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But what other, long-term, you've got a great trend of growth here. What's the next step in the evolution of this, and what do you need to get there?
Well, for one thing, I think we're starting to outgrow our facilities, so we might need to move over. I was thinking maybe moving over to Martin Road Park and running the summer camp out of there because, as I understand it, it used to be run from Martin Road Park, right? And she knows more about it than I do.
Yep, you can chime in.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we've encountered this summer is the growth of the program. We've historically, the past few summers, have used, for example, our smart buses for day camp field trips. Well, when we've outgrown the buses, we have to look at other transportation opportunities. There might be some opportunity to collaborate with some of other surrounding communities that do camp trips. We might not be able to fill, let's say, 3 big buses just at our own camp, but if we coordinate some field trips, we may be able to do that. So those are some things that we'll be working on this fall. And then also, like Emmanuel said, when I first started, we were housed over at Martin Road Park, and our numbers were a lot lower than they are now. But that was a great spot, and that might be an opportunity for future summers as well. So.
And along those same lines of transportation, I want to make sure that I credit Oakland County Parks and Recreation. They've been a huge help to us in giving us the opportunity to have grants for certain events, like the bounce house that you may have seen a picture of in there. They brought that out for free. They did the Go Golf for us for free. They also, whenever we sign up for our, they have OC Express, which is like we go out to the nature center at Red Oaks, and then after that we go to the water park. They provide the transportation for us. So, yeah, they've been a great help.
So as you plan for next year, then I guess my point is it would be helpful, and I think we'd be willing to listen to if there's an ask to help support you in this, because it is a really important program, I think. So just keep that in the back of your mind. And then is this essentially operationally a revenue neutral operation for us then? It looks like it's been good growth in the revenue from the kids. Are we essentially paying for itself?
Definitely.
Okay.
And more.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Any other questions?
Anything?
No, appreciate it. Great job. Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right. All right, our next presentation then is the results of our Dog Days of Summer promotion, and our Assistant City Manager, Joe Gochow, is going to present the results of the promotion, right, Joe?
Council, I am here tonight, the Mayor mentioned, to walk through some of the results of this summer's parking promotion. Back in June, we presented a temporary promotion to try out this year for the parking system that involves utilizing the parking pay stations to issue prepaid coupon sessions for anyone who used our parking lots throughout the city. All you had to do to get the free session on Mondays was to enter coupon code 1918, and the promotion ran from July 6th, and technically it's still going. It's going to go through the end of August. The Monday after August is Labor Day. We don't enforce on Labor Day regardless, so ostensibly you have 3 more Mondays, including today, to take advantage of the free parking in the city's parking lots using the coupon code. So why do we do this? One, we know that Mondays are typically slow in downtowns, and ours is no exception. We wanted to see if we could incentivize some growth in the summer activity of our downtowns by offering this free parking option to our visitors and our local residents. And 2, we wanted to take advantage of our technology that we've invested in. We wanted to use the technology to better understand the data. The kiosks, the coupon codes through the kiosks can generate metrics that help us understand really how many transactions we're getting on a weekly basis on Mondays and see how the performance trends. And that's more or less what I'm here to present on tonight. Objective 1, did we increase business activities in the downtown on Mondays? The trend lines would suggest that overall, no, we did not issue or increase parking transactions per se on a consistent basis. I will just walk you through a couple of these real quick. There's 2 major lines I want you to focus on. The first one is the red line. That's 2014. You notice the bottom bullet points. Those are the year-to-date Mondays. So you'll have a reference point of 2014 versus 2015. And the red line represents 2014. I want to point out that this dip happened. That is actually August 11, 2014. So that is the day of the flood. It was on a Monday.
Yeah.
That explains why we just gone.
You should have filled that hole with water.
You did get some good dock fees, though.
Yeah. Had your boat slipped. And then you'll see the next Monday we're in business again. Then looking at 2014 or 2015, this summer, what we did notice is, hey, maybe the promotion is getting out there. Maybe it's working. We do see an uptick in numbers. The numbers are still below 2014 sales numbers, but the transactions did creep up. And here you'll notice this little dip. This is also related to weather, I would believe. That was 95 degrees and really humid. If you remember that Monday about a month ago that was just horrible, that was that Monday. And you'll notice the transactions went down. So we might find a reasonable correlation between crappy weather and parking attendance downtown. Weather cooled off, and we dipped back up again the next week, and it's we've kind of seen peaks and valleys. So overall, performance is under 2014. I don't know that we completely achieved that first goal, but I'd like to talk a little bit more about what we did achieve with the promotion. And this is where the metrics really kind of play a hand here. Well, one more stat, and this just kind of shows throughout the period comparison, 2014, 2015. You'll notice in your reports that I included, you can read the numbers a little bit better, but you can see the difference in transactions. And again, those aren't revenues, that's number of transactions as we were tracking. So what did we learn from this promotion? How might it have benefited us by doing it this way? We did learn that, well, we didn't drive the traffic we wanted to. We learned that 7,000 customers at this point have used it. We're averaging, I think, between 1,500 and 2,000 transactions per Monday. So we could expect reasonably just under 9,000 transactions by the end of the coupon period. That tells me that people can use our parking technology. That tells me that we've gotten over kind of a growth hump, and that tells me that people understood the coupon, they received our communications, and they were all able to execute, those that did use it. From the other side of that coin, looking at it from the business perspective and the event manager perspective, we have learned, and I'll go through these results momentarily, through a post-promotional survey, that there's interest by vendors in prepaying for parking sessions using this technology through our kiosks. So that was not an alternative before this promotion. It's something that was a value-added benefit that we thought we could bring to the business community, the DDA. We wanted to test it out first. This was great proving grounds, and we already have 2 events that are currently contacted us and already underway in prepaying for coupons. Also through the survey, you can reference this in your reports, that we learned that often we associate restaurants only with our downtown activity and our downtown businesses, but with the surveys, I think we often forget about the diversity of businesses that we do have downtown. We heard from categories through restaurants, retail, office, medical. We heard from salons. We heard from auto industry, health industry. We heard from a myriad of different industries. So I think it's important to understand that these industries also have different clienteles and different needs on Mondays, and we do have a diverse amount of business mix in our downtown. We learned that what we thought we would know, that Mondays are typically the slowest day of the week in the parking downtown. But again, we're no exception. I think that's probably the common trend in most downtowns. After a busy weekend, you slow down on Mondays. And I think we can safely see that there's a number of factors that could influence parking activity. Notably temperature and weather last year and this year have definitely done that. I would also note the business vacancies. There was a little bit of a difference. I don't think it would make up the complete gap, but Buffalo Wild Wings is not in our downtown this summer. It was last summer. So that certainly had somewhat of an impact. So you're going to have some business vacancy numbers that are going to cause the issue. And then holidays. In your reports, too, you can see that 4-day holiday weekends, typically, if we don't enforce on Mondays, it doesn't really have an impact. The 4th of July Monday was the lowest point on that graph, and it was the lowest point during the period, exempting any floods. Here's just a quick snapshot of some key points from the survey. We did want to weigh in on the impact of the promotion with the downtown businesses, so we worked with the DDA to get out a communication to businesses last week. Throughout the week, we received responses, and it was about an 80-20 split. About 80% said it made no impact on their business on Mondays. We had about 20% that had somewhat of an increase on business, or somewhat of an impact, rather. And a very small percentage said it decreased business.
I'd like to know what business said that free parking decreased. My goodness. But we'll just leave them anonymous.
Someone who hates surveys.
Republic.
No. As I referenced before, what I feel fantastic about is over 50% at this point, or just about 50%, are interested in working with the city to develop a prepaid parking coupon solution. And now that we know that, I think we can work with Republic Parking and our communications director, Kara, on an actual program that we might be able to offer as just another suite of our package from parking services to our businesses. And hopefully that's something we can hone and develop and improve over the next year. And then we'd also heard through speech, rather through written communication, that the concern was less about Mondays and more about hours of enforcement. So we thought, let's include a question about hours of enforcement in this survey, too, and take this opportunity. Interestingly enough, our current operation is enforced 10 to 9, Monday through Saturday. The results of the survey were pretty consistent. The top 3, which is what we would tend to focus on if we're looking at a wider time frame, all identified 12 and midnight as being the top 3 most popular blocks for enforcement. 8 a.m. to noon, which would incorporate most of what we have right now, was a little bit lower was significantly lower than these 3, and tied with midnight through 4 a.m., which was also a popular choice. I did give you some information in your report, and I do have Kevin Cans, the director with Republic Parking for the city's parking system available to answer any questions, and Kara is also available to answer any questions about communications.
So other questions? Yeah,
Yeah,
Dan.
okay. Thanks, Joe. That's a good presentation. The questions I've got, you said there were 7,000 customers that use the Mondays, soon to be 9,000 by the end of the program, but that's not really customers, right? Have you been able to tease out the number of those that are employees?
Well, employees wouldn't, I haven't, but what I could do is assume that employees use their downtown employee permits rather than enter in a code. The majority of employees do have the downtown permits. Aside from that, if an employee did enter a code, we wouldn't have a way to discern whether that was an employee or a customer.
Right, yeah, no, I wouldn't think, I'm just curious. And what's the revenue impact look like for doing this? Like, how much less?
For the
did we
promotion, after we paid for all the communications and the design work. We're looking at a net cost of about $6,500 roughly for the promotion for the summer.
And loss of revenue for Mondays?
That's operating loss plus communications that the city expenses.
It's only $6,000?
It's about $6,500 for the period this summer.
Okay, and out of this, your recommendations, I saw the recommendation about being able to market the coupon codes to individual businesses.
Yeah, that's something we've received, as I said, 2 calls. We're actually currently working with them on doing this. But a lot of businesses, the nice thing about the coupon codes is it gives them the freedom to offer free parking at their own discretion on their demand. So.
And what was the value of the coupon codes versus just not enforcing on Monday? Just data? Is that essentially?
Well, yeah. Anytime that we offer a city service as a complimentary, we would like to track it and understand what the actual benefit of the service is that we're comping.
Okay, and they weren't available at the coin kiosks, right, the meters?
The street meters, no. Can't collect data on it.
I have comments, but I don't know, you want to do that now or after?
Well, let's see if there's any other questions first, and then, yeah. No? Any other questions? Mel? Okay, then comments.
Okay. I think this is great data, and it's a good start. I think that I've been pretty clear about my view on this, even before we started this promotion, that I think for a minimal revenue impact, and even if it even slightly helps the businesses, we should not stop offering free parking on Mondays. So I'd like at some point before the end of this promotion, which is in 3 weeks, right? Essentially 2 weeks, that we look at something, and I understand there's a greater parking plan that has to be in place, but we're already doing this. There's no reason to turn it back on, in my opinion, and I would really like to support just keeping parking free, if via the coupon code or whatever venue we decide is the right way to do it, moving forward, because it can't hurt. That's my comment.
So, a couple of comments that struck me. I love the fact that we actually took the time to survey our business owners, because I don't think we do that enough. And I know that there's a lot more data that you got than you put in this presentation. I assume this is going to be shared with our DDA.
Correct, yeah.
Right? Because I think they'll like to see that as well. So I love the fact that
we're still getting a couple results in, so I thought I'll give them another day or two to submit more responses.
Yeah.
And we'll give them a more complete report by the end of the week, maybe.
I'm torn, I guess, by your comment, because I was open to that when you first mentioned that. But what I like about this is that we can make data-driven decisions now. And if I had to guess, I would have said that I don't think most people use the amount of money in the meter or the kiosk as their determinant whether they come to shop here or not. So I don't think it's a big barrier to coming here, and I don't personally think it's a big incentive not to. So I'd need to understand the value of continuing it versus, maybe I'd like to know more about the revenue that we're lost. It doesn't sound like a lot, but we are looking at doing something with that, collecting revenues to do something, some kind of a project in the future. And so if it doesn't have an appreciable value on Mondays, to me, we're going to need to weigh that versus potential lost revenue.
I think I agree with you. I think my only comment to that is to increase business traffic downtown is going to take more than one punch, right? Yep. But this is an entryway into the data that'll help prove to us that what we're doing is working or what we're not. I'd expect 3 or 4 or 5 other initiatives tied to this, which we've talked about a number of things, to help drive business downtown. But this is that first step. I think it's a first step that even if the data suggests doesn't have huge benefit, it doesn't suggest it harms either. So in lieu of a package ongoing to promote business in downtown on Mondays, I just see no reason to take it out.
Through the chair, if I may?
Yeah, please.
I tend to agree with you. I'm in the camp of making sure that staff is using their time, their valuable time, to make sure that we're gaining the biggest impact. And since that 80% of the business said that this had no discernible effect on foot traffic in the downtown, I think it would behoove us, for the city and the DDA, to focus on the strategies that actually increase foot traffic in the downtown. I also think it's interesting that free parking isn't this cornucopia of solving this problem of bringing more people in the downtown. So, and I think the trends nationally with other cities, they're removing parking and more people are coming and revenues are going up for small businesses. Now, I say that with caveats in saying that you've got to have the right environment in order to make that happen. But those are trends we're seeing. So I'd like to have city staff to say, hey, what can we do with the DDA to increase more foot traffic in the downtown as strategies, and then figuring out tactics.
Relating to parking or business strategies?
Increasing foot traffic in the downtown. So, and I'd like us to, think about it a little bit more holistically, about sustainable mobility and trying to get people into our downtown. Right now, I think we kind of silo solving our problems by siloed problems versus looking a little bit more holistically at solving them. So that's my issue with
If I could, through the chair, I couldn't agree more. That's why I said it's not one thing that's going to fix this. What I don't want to get into as a matter of policy is turning it on, turning it off, turning it on. This is an idea that grew organically from the DDA and the city together. Again, it may not, I never thought it would be the boon that changes, I'm going to save $1 in parking, let's go to downtown Ferndale. But I think that it doesn't hurt either in the package of a business-friendly environment. So I'd hate to turn it back on and then decide in 2 months it's part of a bigger holistic view and turn it off.
When I look at the numbers, to me, it looks like we bring in about $700 a Monday, roughly.
It depends. We bring in about $90,000 a year on Mondays. It just depends on the season and the time. And
$90,000 on a Monday?
if you collect all Mondays, that's the annual revenue. That's
Collectively, not each.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
yeah, collectively, not
Okay.
Super Bowl.
Divided by 52, whatever that.
Divided by 52. So you're actually looking over a little over 1,000 then, average on Mondays. Based on this, though, it must be summers are very slow because based on the numbers that you've given,
That's why we called it the
5,800.
dog days, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I would really love to hear a formal report from the DDA. I would love them to come back to council and say they feel, based on their communications with their fellow business owners, that this is a great program that they'd love to see continue, or it's really not worth the effort.
And this was a Sprint survey too. I think we've recently been taking advantage of some survey tools that we've recently incorporated, and I'd be happy to work with the DDA on how we might approach a more comprehensive, slower survey. This was a week survey, but if this is something council wants us to look forward or look into more, we can try to develop something more comprehensive and then take our time, maybe doing face-to-face surveys rather than
Do you have any feedback from the DDA other than that 80-20?
Well, but in fairness, I mean, they haven't seen this report yet. They haven't met since, so, right,
I haven't seen the report yet, the board hasn't seen the report,
Okay.
so.
yeah, no, so,
Unfortunately, we can't
right.
All right, okay.
any opinion on it
In
yet. but
fairness
we
to them,
definitely
right,
will at our next board
this
meeting
is just
have
being
Okay.
presented tonight, so, yeah.
And there's no action, we're just commenting on it.
Right, right, no decision
I
needs to be made.
think it's a policy discussion, right? I mean, I would agree. If the DDA hasn't seen this yet, then we shouldn't
No.
take action on it.
Good, all right, thank you, Joe,
Thanks, Joe.
appreciate it. All right, our next presentation is the new, well, not brand new, 5 months, that's still relatively new, right? Director of Affirmations. And not only is he here to sort of say hello formally to us, but also because we're doing some things in partnership with each other. So, Darius, welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'll let you kick off why you're here tonight.
Good
Thanks.
evening, everyone. I'm Darius Hillman. I am the new, still new, honeymoon lasts for a year, I'm told, the new Executive Director of Affirmation. Just moved back. I'm a native Metro Detroiter, born and raised on the east side of Detroit. Moved back home after 6 years in Chicago. A nice city, but it's good to be back here in the metro area where the roots are deep. To tell you a bit about Affirmations, Affirmations is the state's largest LGBTQ community center. We are also one of the 10 largest LGBTQ community centers in the country. We happen to be your neighbor right down the street at 290 West 9 Mile. If you have not visited the center, it is a sight to behold. It's 17,000 square feet, state-of-the-art, a green LEED facility. At that center, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, we welcome in over a 365-year period, more than 20,000 guests from the Ferndale area, but also throughout the state. Any given night of the week, there are more than 20 discussion and support groups happening. There are youth programming. We will be doing an open house to welcome everyone back, all of the young people who have taken a break over the summer to have some fun, back to our Youth Drop-In Center. Youth Drop-In Center hours are Friday and Saturday from 6 to 9 p.m. It's a safe place. There are scheduled movie nights and discussion nights and game nights, but we have designed the space to be not overly structured so that youth can engage in the social setting with each other with the support of adult allies. One of the things that we are working on at the center is what we are calling Community 2.0, and that's really to make sure that those 17,000 square feet are active, engaging, informative space where members of the LGBTQ community and allies, because my mom is an ally, so she needs to be welcome wherever I am, but really to make sure that it is a safe space. For those of you that know Affirmations, Affirmations as a part of our mission is about inclusive, safe, welcoming spaces where everyone can feel whole and complete. That's what we continue to do. Starting next Monday, for those of you who are inclined, and I've heard some comments about how active you all are, we will be starting the Affirmations Run Club every Monday night, starting September 2nd, 3 and 6 miles. I'll be doing 3, hoping to work my way up to 6 by 2 years from now, baby steps. 2 weeks after that, we will be starting Zumba nights at the center on Monday nights as well. And we will also be having jazz night in the gallery. Speaking of our gallery, the Pittman Puckett Gallery is a fantastic space in the heart of the center, in the main level, 2-story gallery. Throughout the year, there are exhibitions going on by LGBTQ community members who are some of the most talented people I've ever seen. I've been with the organization 5 months. I own 4 pieces. My sister owns 2. So if you want to just stop by, there are exhibitions that are up throughout the year. Additionally, I would like to invite you, if you've not been to the center, we'd like to invite you in on October 10th for what we are hosting Fall Fling 2015. It will be an evening of live jazz, networking, scheduled tours of the center throughout the evening. We will always do a program to make sure that you understand the value of the transformative mission. But right after that, I will begin a karaoke celebration with a performance that I think is going to be Whitney Houston driven. But I could do Mariah. I have the skills to do both. Just saying. One of the commitments that we are making as we work to strengthen the activities happening in the center, to create that safe space where the community can come to be informed, engaged, and empowered. We're also keeping a very close eye on creation of formalized programs that are built on leading models, that are curriculum-driven, that are logic model-induced, that will have measurable outcomes, clear dosage. As we look at our community, the changing impacts of our community, what I needed as a gay person some mid-90s when I went to Affirmations old building is not the same as some of the younger folks or older adults need now. One of the programs in this new model that we launched about 2 weeks ago is called the Cross the Line Youth Workforce Development Program. That is a 24-week program designed around leading models in youth workforce development. We have leading partners who are serving on the Business Advisory Council. They will serve as the coaches of these 15 young folks over this 24-week period. Folks in the group represent residents of Ferndale, but I'm also proud to say residents of the city of Detroit who get the experience of coming to the center. Right around week 12, I would love to invite you all to the Affirmations Cafe. It's a beautiful cafe in the center. They'll learn for 12 weeks, but then for the next 12 weeks, they're going to go on the job. They're going to create a store, a space in our Affirmations Cafe where they are responsible for running the business, inventory, finance, and throughout that, their Business Advisory Council is going to stand at their side. We will do 2 cohorts of that program each year after this pilot. We will additionally, in January of this year, upcoming year, begin a youth leadership development program that will be done twice yearly. We will do a cohort here in our hometown, Ferndale. We'll also do a cohort in Detroit. And the cohorts will match over. So there will be times that the cohorts from Detroit will come here and visit the center in Ferndale. Those who are here in Ferndale will go and visit the cohort in Detroit. Also in January of this year, again, remaining committed to not only giving the LGBTQ community the dignity and the respect that they deserve, but also the supports and resources that they need to live their full lives. We will be launching the LEAD Institute, that is the Leadership, Exploration, and Development Program. Think Leadership Detroit, but for LGBTQ professionals. So we will launch that program in January with 15 fellows over a 6-month period. We will have, again, working on leading models and with very smart people who are smarter than me putting these programs together. Over 6 months, we'll do all of the leadership modules, but we will also, from an LGBTQ experience, how to own your power and truly be a part of a diverse, inclusive workspace. What many companies will tell you now, when I have to cover in the workplace, I'm not bringing you my best self. When I can have a conversation with you that is authentic, we don't get to connect. And as you move up in leadership, much of that success is being able to have people-to-people connections where both sides feel there's an authenticity to the relationship. So that's what's going on at Affirmations. I would absolutely welcome you to visit us at our website, goaffirmations.org. But easier than that, it's about 4 blocks away. Would love to see you there, if not on October 10th for Fall Fling. We're open 6 days a week, 9 to 9. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And I have to end with this. Ferndale, the city of Ferndale, Amy, Michael, Mr. Mayor, this is a fantastic place to call home. You have been an absolutely fantastic partner to us, and we don't take that lightly. You don't have to be as good as you are to us, but you are, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Darius. Anyone have any questions?
Welcome back home.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for coming tonight.
I do have a couple comments, if you don't mind.
Please
One of
do.
the reasons why you can stand here or whatever you want, you can. That's great. Okay. One of the reasons that we asked Darius to attend tonight was, as you know, the city of Ferndale participates in the Human Rights Campaign Municipal Equality Index, and we've been asked to participate since 2012. And one of the things that staff has done is we've taken that index very seriously, and we have made sure that we're not checking anything off the box that we're not doing. And with that, in 2012, we started off with only having a score of 45, which has been very frustrating for City Council. But again, you know, we've been trying to very methodically try to make sure that we are providing the services that the index has asked for. One of the things that had been on the list was to provide services to the elderly, the homeless, and the youth. And as Michael Larry is here, I believe, yes, he is over here, he has been helping drive us, really wrapping our head around this index. We had this conversation that instead of the city providing these services, that we could partner with Affirmations, who again is 4 blocks down the road doing an amazing job providing these services for the LGBT community. So that actually started a conversation with Darius, and we ended up meeting with him and talking and realized that it's been a long time since Affirmations, if at all, has been at City Council to talk about what they're doing, so we thought it was an appropriate time, but also that we'll be formalizing our partnership that when needed, and we find that those are residents that are in need of those services, that we can send them to Affirmations and know that they'll get the help that they need. Beyond that as well, we've actually have 2 staff liaison now that will be dedicated to working with the staff at Affirmations. Both Michael Larry from the City Manager's Office will be the LBGT community liaison for my office, and then actually Officer Amanda Shemansky will be the liaison from the police department, and they'll be meeting regularly with the, I think you're calling it a community coordinator?
Our new community resource manager.
There we go. So to make sure that we do know what those services are. So again, lots of great partnerships are being established. You'll also notice on the consent agenda, a fourth item is that we've adjusted our purchasing policy to ensure that all of the vendors that we work with abide by our human rights ordinance as well. And so I think we've done a lot this year. We're really excited, and we're very excited about our partnership with Affirmations. And when with that, we're actually going from 2012 of 45 points out of 100 to 83, but 93 with the bonus points. So in max, you can have 120. We're moving from 45 to 93, and we're very excited about that. And we couldn't do that without your help, so we really thank you for that.
April, it's our pleasure, I promise you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. Our next presentation is the Ferndale Public Schools, and I see Trustee Amy Butters is with us this evening. She said she has a really brief presentation this evening. I was so surprised.
Oh,
I really.
You're taunting me now. I will try to keep it brief.
No, we love to hear what's going on at our great public schools. I really am teasing you.
I took a little break. I haven't been back for a few weeks, so it's good to see all of you. I hope you've had a good summer. When people think about school, they think about how we take the summer off, but we have not taken the summer off here at Ferndale Schools, so I wanted to pass along what we have to share with you tonight. First of all, I know that there's probably a lot of you who have been wondering why it's been so quiet, especially those of you who live over by the high school, and it's been kind of quiet for the past week, hasn't it? Anybody know? That's because our high school marching band has been up at Interlochen for the week for their annual band camp visit up to Interlochen. They just returned today, and they will be back on the field practicing tomorrow night. So for those of you who are missing that great evening entertainment, that is coming back tomorrow night. They had a great week up at Interlochen. I had 2 daughters up there, and I know that it was a very special time for the kids. And I know that they also made a lot of progress on their show, and I'm excited to see it, and I know all of you will be excited to see it. Also related to the marching band, this year was the first year in several years that our band was able to participate in the Woodward Dream Cruise ribbon cutting event. And that's because usually Dream Cruise happens while the kids are up at Interlochen. And so I just wanted to say thank you to the Dream Cruise organizers for including the band in that event. I loved it. I think it's so great for the band to come out for these community events. And I don't know if anyone really realized how rare it is for our kids to be here for that event. And so it was really great seeing the kids out for that. Okay, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what all we've been doing this summer. We had youth baseball camp, youth basketball camp at Ferndale High School. University High School had summer school going on, and also 3 camps related to game design, STEM, and robotics. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. We had summer school at Ferndale High School also, 65 kids over 4 weeks. We had what's called a triple threat camp, which is a singing, acting, and dance camp for the elementary and middle school kids. 2 weeks of that, 65 kids. We had summer band and orchestra, which I think was 2 weeks this year. We had 100 kids doing that. Last time I was here, I told you about our Maker Camp program that Ferndale participated in this year. We had 240 kids participate in that over several weeks. That was at Coolidge. 240 kids from Ferndale, plus we had kids from 14 other districts come and join us for that program, which was the first year. That's a program where kids can do some creative thinking and, just hands-on projects to put some of the things they learn at school to practical use. We had weekly summer play groups over at Harding, our early childhood center, to kind of help kids and families, keep in touch over the summer, and a lot of our teachers were able to come for that, and so that was a great program. Overall, we had 1,000 kids come to some of our summer programming this year, and that's more than a third of our total enrollment. So, you know, there was a lot going on this summer, and it was really great to see our families continue to get together and continue to stay engaged in our school district. Okay, so that's in the past. I'm going to tell you what's coming up, okay? So I hope you have your planners out and ready to go. Okay, August 31st, that's a week from today, is what we like to call opening day. That's not the first day of school. It's our first day when our staff comes back. And we on the school board are going to be hosting a breakfast for them. They're going to be over at Ferndale High School. They come and they have breakfast, and then they have a day of professional development. That's going to be a great day for, you know, we love to see our staff come back after being off for the summer. Then our first day of school when the kids return is Tuesday, September 8th. Okay, and that's right after Labor Day. You can still enroll in Ferndale schools. Just go ahead and call our enrollment office, and we're still adding kids however many we need to. Our new early childhood center, which I mentioned, it's not a new program, but it's a new physical place where we're keeping all of our early childhood programs in one building over at Harding. And that enrollment is going through the roof. We've got a few of the preschool programs we have are filled, and we've got waiting lists started. And so we're very excited about our youngest members of our community coming and joining us at our early childhood program. We have several different programs to offer in terms of, you know, Head Start and Little Eagles and different, you know, for whatever you might need for your preschoolers. This Friday, August 28th, is our official ribbon cutting of our early childhood center at Harding. That's at 8 a.m. this morning, and I know that the chamber has been working with the district on it. It's August 28th, this Friday at 8 o'clock. And so it's, you know, kind of a ceremonial ribbon cutting. And also that day we have Dr. Jean Feldman, who is a renowned early childhood expert, coming to give a conference for teachers and parents for early childhood development topics. Also, we've got over 100 students enrolled in our new Cambridge program, which is at our middle school. We have 60 students enrolled in our early college program at our high school. And our superintendent, Blake Pruitt, told me that Chief Collins is going to be meeting with some kids tomorrow. Does that sound right? I think it's next week. Okay, next week. Criminal justice program is one of our early college tracks, and that's been something that Chief Collins has been working collaboratively with our district on. And then also, Chief Collins, I know at the last meeting you talked about our big football game that's coming up on September 11th, our first home football game, which is against Berkeley. And I know that there's a lot of special events planned with that event, and so I'm really looking forward to that. And then one last thing for your calendar, that Saturday after that football game, come to the football game Friday night, and then Saturday morning you can come to our family health fair and our mom-to-mom sale, which will be at Roosevelt that Saturday. So there's a lot going on at Ferndale Schools this fall. We're getting ready for back to school, and you know, a lot going on with the greater community beyond just our families and our kids.
Excellent. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it. I noticed another school board trustee, Raylon Leaks-May, is here in the back. Thank you for joining us this evening. Good stuff happening at the Ferndale Public Schools. Our final presentation is the Downtown Development Authority. Cindy, back up again.
I will try to keep this nice and quick, but there is a bunch of stuff going on. So first of all, our second Get Real outdoor movie on Vestor was last Thursday. It was Frozen the Sing-Along. We had a great crowd, including Councilman Pollica and Martin, and I'm pretty sure at least one of them sang along.
I sang.
I wasn't going to rat you out, but okay.
Yeah, let it go.
We had fun anyway.
They were all sorts of people singing. Our final outdoor movie of the season will be September 17th. It will be Back to the Future, again on Vestor Street. Sunset will be earlier, so we'll probably be starting at about 8 o'clock. So we hope to get a really good crowd out for that one as well. Ferndale Collision is helping us sponsor. We've got a bunch of other sponsors, but they really make these things happen. The end of September, the 25th through the 27th, is the DIY and Funky Ferndale Art Fairs. And I just had a conversation with Mark Loeb from the Funky Ferndale Art Fair. They always try to incorporate kind of a community art project as well as some student art in it. And this year he is working with, I'm going to butcher her last name, but Aspasia Fotiu. She was one of the artists from the Artist New program. Her artwork is actually hanging on City Hall here. And she will be working with Mark to do our community art project with some splatter painting in panels. And they asked us if we'd like to use the DDA logo. They'll tape it off, and then people that are visiting the art fair can come and do splatter painting, and it'll leave a really cool outline of the DDA logo. They also asked who else we'd like to bring into that, and we said, well, the city would be really cool. It'd be really cool to do the city's logo as well as the chamber's logo. It'd be a really good way to tie in the public art and the art programming that the DDA, the chamber, and the city are doing, kind of all under one thing. So we're really excited to be doing that. As soon as I get more details from Mark, I will share them with you, but it'll be really neat if you guys can come out and kind of splatter around the city logo, and then they'll all be in these little squares, and she'll do something big and tie it all together with some of her own artwork. She's going to do some Ferndale-specific stuff, biking and houses and parks and all kinds of fun stuff. So
That's about the extent of my artistic ability, so I could probably
exactly. I was like, okay,
do that.
Friday, September 11th, and Saturday the 12th, the Woodward Avenue Action Association is doing some programming. I've experienced the future of Woodward. On Friday, they're doing a lunch and having speakers that are really focusing on transit and economic development along the Woodward corridor, and that'll be happening at the historic Ford Highland Park plant that they purchased. It includes lunch and speakers. The tickets are $50, and then on Saturday morning, they're doing a bike ride along the Woodward corridor. It'll start at the plant. It'll come up the corridor to Pleasant Ridge and the zoo, and then back down to the plant. They'll have some food trucks, but they have asked us to partner with them to do an after party for the event in downtown Ferndale. So right now we've got about 22 businesses that have signed on to offer special deals to the riders of the event. So we're hoping that they'll give us some better counts so we know whether we have to work and get some extra bike parking, but we're hoping to attract somewhere between 300 and 600 people that go to this event downtown Ferndale to not only dine after the event, but to then stick around since they park their bikes and shop. So that'll be a lot of fun, and there's more information on that at the WA3's website, which is woodwardavenue.org. And then finally, we have picked the date of September 22nd, tentatively at Bloom's, to hold our joint volunteer recruitment event with the Chamber, and we are going to be reaching out to other nonprofits in the city or connected with the city, probably about 8 to 10 total, so that residents and other people have the opportunity to come to one place and see the different volunteer opportunities available. Everybody will have a table. So if you have anybody that you think would be a good fit, be sure to contact either me or Ashley Labs at the Chamber.
Excellent.
And that's all I got.
Very good. Anyone have any questions for Cindy? Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. All right. That concludes our presentations. So the next item of business would be call to audience. This is your opportunity for those of you who are here with us this evening to speak to council for up to 3 minutes on any item that is not on the agenda. I say that because you'll be allowed to speak to that when we get to that portion of the agenda. But if there's anything that anyone would like to share with council, come on up, give us your name and your address, and 3 minutes is yours. Normally a shy crowd, but I got a feeling you might be here for things on the agenda. So I don't see anyone for call to audience. Going once, going twice.
Don't rush the podium.
All right, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda are items that council considers routine and we enact in one motion unless someone from council removes something from the consent agenda. Let me read that for you now. Item A is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held August 10, 2015. Item B is the approval of the agreement between Siemens Industry, Inc. and the City of Ferndale to provide comprehensive services for the HVAC system at the Kulik Center, City Hall, and Police Department, and to charge the first-year expense of $51,593 to the General Fund Repair and Maintenance account. Item C is the approval to recognize Affirmations as a partner with the City of Ferndale in providing services to the LGBTQ community, including youth, homeless, and the elderly, and to authorize Michael Larry, our Director of Special Events and Projects, and Officer Amanda Szymanski to be the LGBTQ staff liaisons. Item D is the approval to accept the updated purchasing policy as submitted by our city manager. That's the one that she referenced earlier in relation to our human rights score. Item E is the approval for the city manager to fill the captain's position left vacant from restructuring the police department and contingent upon approval from the civil service as submitted by our city manager. Item F has been removed for this meeting. And finally, item G is the approval of the bills and payrolls as submitted by the city manager's office, subject to the review of the council finance committee.
I'd move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support. Moved by Martin and supported by Piana. Now, is there any discussion, either by council or anyone in the audience, about the consent agenda? I will only echo what the city manager said about affirmations. It was sort of puzzling for some of us, especially when I became a new mayor here, to learn that we had kind of a mediocre HRC score. We pride ourselves on being a very progressive and diverse and accepting and tolerant LGBTQ community. And I think some of it we just took for granted, to be honest with you. I know we lost points because we didn't have a liaison to the manager to the LGBT community. Well, duh. So, you know, we wanted to make sure we did things that actually made sense. We didn't, and I reiterated this with April, we didn't want to do things just to create bureaucracies and titles just for the score. We wanted to pick things that could actually make a difference in this community. So I appreciate those being on the item, on the agenda, and Darius, again, appreciate your help at affirmations to make that a reality. Any other comments on the?
Well, I'd just like to add on to that. My argument is the HRC questions are a little bit outdated for a community like Ferndale, because it's assuming that there's a lack of diversity and a lack of inclusiveness that exists in Ferndale that doesn't exist in a lot of other communities. So a lot of those questions don't apply to Ferndale because we have gone beyond what HRC is expecting.
Yes, they weren't recognizing for it.
I know. That's the problem.
Very true. All right, if there's no other comments on the consent agenda, Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmembers Polika?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. The consent agenda is adopted. Moving on now to the regular agenda. Item A is the consideration to appoint Matthew Showalter to the Planning Commission. And Derek, do you want to introduce that item? And I don't know if he's here or not.
I don't believe he is.
Okay.
I know he was going to try to be here, but I don't think he was able to make it.
Okay.
Matthew is someone we met recently. He was actually part of the RPZ committee and had participated at that level with the city. We got to know him a little bit. He has a background in architecture. He's currently seeking his registration in architecture, which is a skill set that the Planning Commission needs and could use, honestly. So when we met him, we had some time to talk with him. He's been a resident for 2 or 3 years now. He seemed like a very good fit, willing to serve, so we asked him to put in his application, and that is what is in front of you tonight.
Excellent. Any comments, questions about this item?
I think it will be a great addition to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, I know he's very excited. I know he would have liked to have been here, and he was very enthusiastic when we explained to him what the position was, what the responsibilities were. I know he was very excited to join the group and to be part of the city.
It's a busy year for the Planning Commission,
yes.
So.
It really is. He has a bachelor's from Lawrence Tech in architecture, and he's pursuing his master's there. So once again, I'm just always impressed by the caliber of folks. Well, it's a smart group. Yeah, you got to keep up. So I'm impressed and appreciate the caliber of people that continue to step forward to do those sort of things. So, all right, any last comments or questions? Marnie, would you call the roll, please? Oh, we don't have a motion yet. Thank you.
I move to confirm the appointment of Matthew Showalter to the Ferndale Planning Commission for a term ending December 31st, 2015.
Support.
Whoa, that was close, but in a close call, I'll say moved by Piana and supported by Polika. Marnie, would you now call the roll, please?
Council members Piana,
Yes.
Lennon,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Polika,
Yes.
and Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. That appointment is adopted. Moving on now to regular agenda item B, which is the consideration of Motor City Pawnbrokers' appeal of a rezoning denial. And Derek, by the way, welcome back from vacation, and on your first day, we're going to keep you busy, but you're going to introduce this item.
I will. The applicants are here. As the City Council is aware, a rezoning process includes a review and public hearing by the Planning Commission, recommendation to City Council, and then a final decision by City Council. As with any rezoning, the final decision lies with the legislative body. The applicant is a current business owner in the city. They're located at 711 East 8 Mile Road in about 1,000 to 1,500, 1,200 square foot building currently. They've been under operation for several years in the city. They recently entered into a contract to purchase a building located east of their current location, located at 1461 East 8 Mile Road. When they approached the city with the request, they were made aware that the existing zoning of the site did not support a pawnbroker use, and that if they wished to pursue the property, they would have to request and file for rezoning, which they did do. They were placed on a Planning Commission agenda after submitting a completed application. A public hearing was held. There was much discussion at the initial meeting, and one of the discussion topics that came up was the potential for what is called a conditional rezoning, which the City Council has seen in the past. That is where the applicant is able to offer willingly conditions to mitigate any proposed or concerns or perceived concerns with the proposed use or district that's being requested. They willingly or at their own request withdrew their application, resubmitted it as a conditional rezoning with a series of several conditions that are included in your packet in an attempt to address some of the concerns that were identified by both the Planning Commission and some of the residents and other folks who came to the initial meeting. That application was re-publicly noticed. The Planning Commission held a second public hearing in which the conditional rezoning was considered. And ultimately, the Planning Commission did recommend denial 4-3 to City Council to deny the conditional rezoning request. Several of the main conditions that were offered, and I'll allow the applicant to come up in a minute and introduce themselves and walk through what the request is, but the main concerns that the Planning Commission had in the conditions that were offered dealt with limiting to the uses that would be allowed as part of the rezoning to the pawnbroker use only. So none of the other uses that are associated with the C3 district, which is requested, would be allowed. If the pawnbroker's operation were to cease to exist, that the zoning would automatically revert back to the existing OS, so a reversion clause. There was conditions offered about hours of operation, activity at the rear of the site, parking, and some other things. But those are the main ones, and I'll let them go through the whole thing. Again, the Planning Commission reheld that public hearing, listened to the conditions that were proposed, and ultimately recommended denial 4-3. So with that, I'll ask the applicants to come up, and then obviously we will be here to answer any questions you have about the request.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm Carmen Aventini with CIB Planning. I'm formerly one of the founding partners of LSL Planning, which is a firm that you do work with. And with me tonight is Mark Aubrey, the owner of Motor City Pawn. And Derek did a great job of introducing the process that we've gone through. And actually, even at the Planning Commission meeting, there's a very lively discussion. And we added additional conditions. And we thought we had addressed everything adequately. And there was a last question that in retrospect we really didn't answer well, and we kind of fell flat on our faces on. And probably because it was a challenging question. The question was, okay, you're going to relocate to this new facility, and what's going to happen with your existing facility? Mm-hmm. And we really didn't have it kind of shocked us. We didn't have a great answer for that. And we've actually
gone. Do you own that property? I'm sorry, do you own that property,
yes.
Mark? Yeah.
Yeah. So we've actually gone back and done our homework because there was some question among some of the Planning Commission members as to whether we could actually condition closing of the existing property, base the new rezoning on a condition that would close a different property. So what we've come up with is basically a deed restriction. Mark's agreed to deed restrict the current property so that after he relocates to the new facility, that would no longer be operated, could not be operated as a pawnbroker facility. So hopefully that addresses that lingering concern that I think caused a lot of angst amongst some of the Planning Commission members. Before I turn it over to Mark, though, what I'd like to mention is the process we went through in terms of looking at looking for a new facility. Mark had actually contacted me about expanding his current site. And as you know, it's not very big. And after looking at a lot of different options for that site, I think we came to the conclusion that anything he did would really impact the neighborhood. It's just not big enough to do what he needs to do there. But he wants to remain in Ferndale. So he looked at other locations. He did look at all of the C3 districts, which are located on Woodward, and could find nothing. There was nothing available. They're all occupied. So there really was nowhere for him to move within the community other than looking at a different facility and requesting a rezoning. And respecting the concerns of the Planning Commission and of the residents, did move forward with a conditional rezoning voluntarily. And, you know, just to let you know, we really did listen to the concerns of the residents, and we did adjust the conditions accordingly. And over half of the conditions we've got were really focused on making sure we didn't impact the residents on East Bennett Street. The 3 overhead doors that are currently there are going to be closed, which if another business went in there, they could keep them open whenever. The loading and unloading will be from the side, not from the rear of the property. The fence that opens up onto East Bennett from the side yard is going to be replaced with a decorative vinyl fence, so you won't even be able to see through there. It will keep anybody from going in and out of there, or from any business activities occurring there. There will be new building-mounted LED lighting that's directed downward that will not create glare for any of the residences. We've got security cameras that will be located around the building, but none of them will face on the residents along East Bennett Street, so it's respecting their privacy. There won't be any outdoor storage on the property. One of the conditions, the concerns at the last public hearing that one of the residents had was about firearms. And so firearms and ammunition will not be displayed or offered for sale in the showroom at all at this location. And then last but not least, the hours of operation. As you can see, there will be no evening hours associated with this facility. It'll be Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and on Saturday from 9 to 5. So there's no evening hours with which to worry about. So with the exception of the one that, like I said, we kind of stumbled on, I think we really did a good job of working with the Planning Commission to remedy any possible concerns that there might be that folks would have about this facility being there. He's been a great member of your business community. He'd like to stay here and relocate his business to this other site and really help to fix up that block, which is in sore need of improvement. So I'll turn it over to Mark and let him talk about his operation a little bit more.
Thank you, Carmen. First of all, I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of your city for the past 5 years. Not only have the residents been great, but the city has also been great to me. In the past 5 years, to be honest with you, I have had little to no problems at all with whether it was with any stolen items, I guess is somewhat of a concern, but I haven't had any problems in the neighborhood, the surrounding neighbors, theft, I guess, any type of criminal activity around the store, nothing at all. To be honest with you, I've had, I think, a great relationship with your police department. Every time an item is actually brought into me, we take a thumbprint, customer's thumbprint, their driver's license, signature, and everything, and we upload that straight to Chief Collins' department, actually, so they could see everything that we do. And if, in a rare occasion, really, I can't recall the last stolen item that I had brought in, but if it does occur, and it does once in a great while, then we work with the police department diligently. They come in, take pictures, we put the item on hold, or they'll take it down to the department if that happens. So to be honest with you, I haven't had any problems within the 5 years that I've been in your city. Really, the only reason I'm here is because in the past 5 years I've experienced around a 35 to 40% growth rate. And my current building now is about 1,000 square feet, and I can't house many items. 90% of my business, really, I do collateral loans. So I keep customers merchandise for anywhere from 3 months all the way to 2 years. And the item just sits there until the customer is able to redeem it. Much like it's like a credit card loan, basically, or a credit card transaction, but only I keep the merchandise. So that's really the only reason I'm here. I need to expand. I need a larger facility to take these items. As a matter of fact, 50% of my customer base are actually Ferndale residents. And I think it's a service that's much needed. I think every community needs at least one pawn shop in their community for that reason. And really, that's all I want to do. All I want to do is relocate. The proposed building that I have a purchase agreement on is only less than a half a mile down the road on the same exact street. So I didn't see any issues with that. I thought it was a great fit, to be honest with you. So I'd love to stay a part of your community. You know, like I said, everybody's been great to me. So that being said, I'm open for any questions you may have.
So let's do this before we have questions and comments of council. Let's allow anyone that's here from the public that wants to discuss this item. Why don't you step forward now? Gentlemen, if you just step aside just for a moment. We'll give anybody who's here from the public an opportunity to address us on this issue before we start debate. Yes, good evening, sir.
Hi, my name is Bruce Channel. I'm a resident of Ferndale, 25 years. I've patronized them on occasion, and it's been a good fit, and I think it'd be nice if they were able to move to a larger building. The building they're in is kind of small, and those over there by that the other side of the tracks it would be a good fit, I think, for that area. There's nothing there really right now, so just want to put my 2 cents in for it, for what it's worth, and hopefully you'll approve their move there.
All right. Thank you for coming. Anyone else here from the public that would like to address us? Yes, sir.
My name is David Richards. I'm an attorney. Do you need an address?
Nope.
I'm here on behalf of Flynn Machine, which is the owner and occupant at 1561 East 8 Mile. It's the second building over from the subject property. That business is owned by Ron Scafoni. Flynn Machine has been in Ferndale forever. And by forever, I'm saying I've represented Flynn Machine for over 25 years, and they've been at that location for many years before that. Ron Scafoni is a new Ferndale resident, and so that's the background. Ron could not be here tonight, and he asked me to come by simply to tell you that he and his business are very much in favor of approving of the conditional rezoning as proposed. I'm not going to get into the details. The applicant can talk to you about the details. I'll just add my 2 cents beyond what I've said on behalf of Mr. Scafoni. I had the pleasure between 2007 and 2010 of being the city attorney in Warren. And during that time, I heard nothing about Motor City Pawn Shop. As City Attorney Chris knows, any city attorney in any city usually hears when there's a problem. During that period, I heard nothing. I also noticed, even though I did not get a chance to review in depth, there's so much material on this that I gave up and this afternoon trying to figure out what was all going on. But I did notice you had a couple of letters from Warren officials. The applicant has a business in Warren and has letters of endorsement both from the President of the City Council and also from Chief Judge John Shimura. I can tell you I work with Judge John Shimura. I'm still a friend of his, and he is very much a straight arrow and does not give an endorsement like that lightly. So what's in that letter, I would hope that the council would consider that as part of the overall picture. With that, my job is done, and I thank you.
Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address us? Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I live on East Chesterfield, which is 1 street behind Bennett Street there.
Yep.
And I'm here on behalf of myself and some of my fellow community members who we appreciate everything that Mr. Audrey has done to make this conditional application. But we still feel that, the idea of a pawn shop that close to some of our neighbors can do bad things for property values as well as for the crime that can sometimes increase when a pawn shop moves into your neighborhood. So I'm here to ask that the City Council follows the lead of the Planning Commission and listens to the constituents that do not want a pawn shop in their neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Good evening. Hi.
I'm Ashley Dunworth. I live at 1417 East Bennett Street. I know some of you have seen me up here a couple times this year. I moved to Ferndale 8 years ago. I bought my house 8 years ago, which is behind the proposed pawn shop area. I love Ferndale. It's been a great experience. I love the downtown area. You know, and our street's really quiet. There's little traffic. There's little crime, and I'd like to keep it that way. So basically, I'm just asking for you to deny the request tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Pierre LeBlanc, New Detroit Realty, listing agent of the property, subject property. Initially, when I listed that property back in the day, it was a property that just came through a bankruptcy. That property was formerly a manufacturing facility and not in very good condition. The current owner has brought it up, and I think that this use right here is, as opposed to manufacturing use, a new retail use is really going to significantly improve that area and real estate values.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Robert Alderton. I live on Bennett Street, directly behind the pawn shop. Retail values don't go up when a pawn shop goes in. Crime goes up 10%. You know, as for this gentleman over here, the lawyer that owns that property, machine shop, that machine shop, the two buildings next to it don't have any parking. Code-wise, they're not allowed to. When you pull in off of 8 Mile, if you can imagine 8 Mile, you make a right-hand turn in this parking lot. And as soon as you pull in, you'd go directly in front of this pawn shop. Okay. Now, if you make a right-hand turn, they're proposing a bunch of parking spots in front of the building. Well, you can't do that. You can't make that right-hand turn. And not just that the parking in front of that building and the proposed parking in between that building, the pawn shop, and the one next to it, there's a gated little area we're talking about. In that gated little area, they want to put parallel parking in there for the people to park. Well, when they park there in the winter, there's no place for the snow. And on top of that, when they back up, you can't back up to a city street for maneuverability. You have to be able to maneuver around when you back up. So you're going to be pulling into the street that when you pull off 8 Mile, so that guy's backing up, and the guy coming off 8 Mile is coming in, they're going to hit each other. Okay? And that's actually a one-way street. Now, next to that building is the old door company. It's 35,000 square feet. There's only room for enough parallel parking. That is 200 feet long, and parallel parking is about 24 feet. So divide that up, plus there's a couple of overhead doors. You might get 6 parking spots for 35,000 square foot building. So when this pawn shop goes in, and all the customers, it's increasing 1,400%. They have 1,000 square foot, easy math, 14,000, pretty simple. Now they're going to have up to 10 employees, is what they said before. Okay, so you're not going to have parking in front because that's where clients going to pull in, and you don't have any room in between 2 buildings. So where are they going to park? Now who's going to be in their right mind going to buy a 35,000 square foot building with only 8 parking spots at best? Okay, I mean, and then they're talking about cutting that, the one way off and trying to go into their subdivision, so no one goes in their subdivision, but you can't. MDOT's not going to allow you. So, and besides, it's only 19 foot wide, and I'm not going to get into codes. I can send you all the stuff I have if you want. If you guys proceed and pass this, I'm really good at codes. I've been doing construction for 30 years, and one of the people in residence, they're a lawyer, and they actually said that we're going to work together on this, and we're going to put in an injunction or whatever we have to do to stop this pawn shop. So it's up to the city. Now, it doesn't matter to me. I have all the time in the world for this. So, anyways, and then besides, the property value will go down. And I'll say
balance my time for anybody else. Thanks.
Good evening.
Good evening. How y'all doing?
Great.
My name is Glenn. I'm a lifelong Ferndale resident. I've used the pawn shop many times. You can see they've helped me out a lot. There's no problems I've ever saw, and I'm sure y'all can figure parking now. That's the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, my name's Julie Heineke, and I was the first owner in Fairview Estates. We all paid $200,000 for those houses, so I don't really want to have a pawn shop in front of me if I'm paying $4,000 a year in taxes, and my value won't be up to where I paid.
Thank you. Hi.
Andrew Petroni, 139 East Bennett. I actually live behind the building that they're in now.
Yeah.
I have not had an issue at all. And as far as property values go, our property values actually have gone up in the city of Ferndale in that area off of 8 Mile, excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
My name is Sharon Lakovsky. I'm a lifelong resident of Ferndale. I've been using Motor City Pawn for a little over 2 years now. It's been a great business. They run a safe, clean environment, no problems, no questionable activity whatsoever. I think they'd be a good benefit.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Is that everybody?
I'm sorry, I forgot, but these guys are an auto pawn, and they don't have...
You can, if you don't say it in the microphone, then it doesn't get recorded.
You know, these guys are an auto pawn. You know, they don't really have a whole bunch of clients compared to what they want to have. 1,000 square foot, on, you know, they basically, right on the window, it says the auto pawn. They don't say really, you know, I know he talks a good story and saying, you know, they don't have any crime. I can show you, and I gave you guys 2 police reports that I had a tractor the day after we went to the first zoning meeting. I got my tractor stolen, and then I got my truck broken into. And then Joey's pawn shop is right at the corner of 9 Mile and 8 Mile and John R. And it's right there. I can actually walk there within probably 3 minutes. So, you know, really, you know, we don't need another pawn shop in the neighborhood, as they say, because we already have one. I mean, if you guys want to put it, you know, in Ferndale, well, there's a really big place. It's a car lot right on Woodward, just south of 9. And if you really want something really big, well, put it in you guys' neighborhood, not ours. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Anyone else from the audience who would like to address this issue? Okay, so I will open it up to council, to your questions and comments on this issue.
Well, through the chair, why don't I give an overview since I'm on the Planning Commission and provide a little bit more context. I believe that the Planning Commission was on a split vote, mostly to the end of the conversation with the applicant, and felt that the response of the applicant indicated that they were going to have 2 pawn licenses and would relocate and expand into the new space, but also keep a pawn license in their current space, effectively creating 2 pawn shops. And I believe the Planning Commission felt that that was in the direction of policy for the city, and voted that down. Mostly, I think, if I can speak for them, probably was a deciding factor. So, but overall, I think Motor City Pawn has proven to be a very valuable and respectable business in Ferndale, as well as the other communities in which they're located. They certainly don't have a crime issue and haven't had crime issues at their current pawn shop space, as indicated by our police chief. And overall, I just think that somehow pawn shops are seen as causing economic desperation, which is why they have this sort of perception of being a harmful business or a land use. And I would say that probably for a lot of pawn shops that's the case. But Motor City Pawn has been an upstanding business in our community. So I think based off of what they've, with no crime in their current location and moving, what is it, a half a mile, quarter mile?
If that.
If that down the road, I expect that they will continue to practice good business practices. The Planning Commission heard from residents who came to the Planning Commission. Many of them are here tonight, and I believe that a lot of the conditions that were put in place address those concerns of lighting, sound, traffic flow, and parking. Though I think with the site plan approval, the city's planning department will need to continue to work on parking and traffic flow with MDOT. They own the egress into, off of 8 Mile into that space.
So if I could just on that point, because a number of questions were raised about parking and traffic, and you said, well, that gets kicked to MDOT. How does that get resolved?
The parking is the city, but the egress into the space and the traffic flow, I believe, is MDOT. But Derek can answer those questions and provide clarity to.
How does that get resolved in the scope of our process?
What Councilwoman Fiona is absolutely accurate. If a rezoning were to be approved, they still have to go through a site plan review. If they're substandard parking-wise, they are able to request the appropriate waivers or variances from the Planning Commission to address that, or have to demonstrate to both staff and the Planning Commission ultimately how they will provide an appropriate number of parking spaces, not only to facilitate the use, but to be in conformity with the city ordinance. And the question regarding MDOT is absolutely true. Before anything moves in there, the improvements that need to be made to the area in front of that will need to receive a right-of-way permit from MDOT and be approved by them. We know the applicant has been in contact with MDOT already regarding those improvements, so that would need to take place as well.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, and if you don't have an answer to this, that's fine. But do you have a preliminary sort of opinion about the adequacy of the parking as it's been presented?
What I can say and what I do know is that all of the existing facilities down there, regardless of whether they're developed as OS, retail, CS, or C3, are all probably substandard parking-wise to the ordinance. What we try to do is, one, work with any applicant, regardless of the use, to improve on the existing condition. Our goal is not to keep facilities vacant. But if they're substandard to the point where they worsen the condition or in fact increase the nonconformance, they do have to seek a waiver from the Planning Commission. If what they do lessens the existing nonconformance, in essence making the situation better for the proposed uses or based on the square footage, then they can be approved without any waiver.
He does.
What activity is actually going to take place at this location? Because I had the pleasure of going to both the Warren and the Roseville facilities, and they're quite different. The Roseville facility is a showroom where people can come in and look at items on shelves, as well as pawn equipment, materials, what have you. Whereas the Warren location is much smaller, probably twice the size of the Ferndale location, and is only a pawn interaction. There's no showroom, displays, anything. So what type of facility is this going to be?
This is going to be similar to the Roseville location.
Okay, so people are going to be coming in, being able to look and shop as well as pawn items.
Correct.
Okay.
We went inside Roseville.
Oh, I did.
That showroom's that's a larger showroom than what this proposed.
It's a larger showroom?
Right.
Okay.
The showroom I'm going to build in the Ferndale group at this Ferndale spot is going to be a smaller showroom.
Okay, but you had about 10 employees there. Very nice, by the way. Your employees were very nice. The place was very nice.
Thank you. Yes, that location actually has more than 10 employees, but that location is my largest. That's actually almost 20,000 square feet.
Okay, and this size is how big? 14,000, okay. Because that location has about 30 parking spaces in your lot. And my concern is that this has, what did I count up to, 22? And if 10 of them are going to be filled with employees, that leaves 12 for customers coming in to both pawn items and sell items, look at items on shelves, et cetera.
Correct. I based it off of Roseville Roosevelt, the employees, that included the 30 spaces. There was my employees parked there, as well as we have cars for sale that we even put at that location, which I'm not going to be able to.
Yeah, well, and I took pictures. Probably out of the 30 spaces, 25 of those spaces were filled. There was, I mean, I had to move out of someone's way coming in to be able to park. It was in and out. For a Monday, that was busy, I'm sure.
Monday's the busiest day by far because we're closed Sunday. Also, 10 of those 25 spots that were filled were probably employees' cars.
Yeah.
So I would say 15 customer cars.
Yeah.
This is my guess. I don't know for sure, but it's probably around there.
Yeah, it just seemed like there was a lot of activity coming in and out of that place, and I would be concerned with that driveway because I have driven into the driveway on 8 Mile, and it's not easy to get into, and it's not easy to get out.
Yeah, I agree, which is why I spoke to MDOT twice. I met them at the site once, and they confirmed that it was a two-way egress, not one-way. I'm already in contact with Flynn Machining Company, who is operating next door, and also with the medical supply to try to work something out as far as the parking. Obviously, my customers are my top priority. I'm a customer service-driven entrepreneur, so I want to make it as easy as possible for the customers. So as far as improving parking, that's going to be a top priority for me.
And I'd like to add, too, I mean, and when we deal with rezonings, we deal with uses, not only what's being proposed, but what could allowably go in there now. Under the office service uses, there's a lot of uses that would have square footage requirements for parking that far exceed what's being proposed here. In their percentage breakdown, and I just went back and double checked with the applicant as well, they're proposing only about 2,500 square feet of it would actually be open retail square footage of it, which that is a 1 per 250 square foot calculation. The rest of the site is limited to their warehousing operation, which is a 0.5 space per 1,000 square foot calculation. So they're going to be very close by ordinance standards, but they don't exceed or plus or minus, depending on whether the spaces are legally dimensionally, which we haven't got that far into the process. They're going to be very close numbers-wise as to whether they conform with the ordinance requirements. And then once they lock in those square footages, they're stuck with those. They can't expand their retail for additional square footage unless they're able to provide the additional parking, which I think you have a lot less retail square footage here than you do in your other operation.
Yeah, definitely. Roseville's about 4,000, 3,500 to 4,000 square foot showroom. This I propose 2,500. If I have to scale it back, give or take 500 feet, I will do so to meet the parking requirements.
And that's the requirement. If they have to lessen the retail square footage, which is the higher density parking requirement, then they'll be required to back that down, or they won't meet the ordinance requirement, or they'll have to seek a variance to pursue it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, Mike has been trying to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I concur with Councilwoman Piana. I think that the changes you've made are going to are going to benefit everybody involved. And it was my understanding from the onset that the problem was that everybody thought on the Planning Commission, and correct me if I'm wrong, Melanie, that you were going to keep both pawnbroker licenses, which you know, and I think in an email you sent me, I said that wasn't permissible. And it is my understanding that you already got a buyer or potential buyer for the property at 771.
I do, yes.
Namir from Kitchen Concepts.
Correct, yeah.
So we're getting a chance to improve the facade of one building and the interior of it, and potentially for another building.
Correct, yes, that is correct.
I don't have any objection to this whatsoever.
Dan, did you?
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Condition 20 in your document indicates that firearms and ammunition will not be displayed or offered for sale in the showroom. That strikes me as pretty specific language. Are you storing firearms and ammunition elsewhere in the building for sale through other venues?
Not for sale. The reason I put that is because I do collateral loans, and it's a common item a customer would bring in a shotgun to get a loan against. So I can't obviously put that in there. It's a common item that customers bring in to secure a loan. But as far as selling in the showroom, I don't need to sell. What I do at matter of fact, my Warren store, my Detroit store, and Ferndale currently, I don't sell any firearms already.
But you store them on premise for the collateral loan?
Exactly. So I would be doing the same thing. I don't have a problem not selling them in the showroom to customers, street customers. I would sell them to federal firearm licensed dealers outside of the state. or within the state, and I ship them to them, which is what I do now.
Sure. And then my subsequent question is probably for the chief or through Derek is, do we have any concerns about the security installations that's planned for the storage of firearms or ammunition on collateral loan on that property?
I don't take ammunition, just to clarify.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Well, I missed it was
just
in there.
firearms.
Sorry.
The question is that do we have concern about the security of firearms being stored on the facility?
Correct.
We have not reviewed the security plan for the building, but I would assume that if they had a very secure building with an alarm, you couldn't ask for much more than that, a camera system. And I assume being a pawn shop, that will be part of their planning, but I haven't got to that.
They do have a camera system in the proposal and that's
Right, but we've only reviewed it from the police department as far as it goes to how much contact they've had with the police with the police, the surrounding area, were they leads online certified, which they are. So that's what we.
So could you speak to that while you're here? How have they been as a business for the last 5 years? And
very
what?
silent. We've had we ran a check through see how many calls for services that we've had, both from the from the business itself, which was 0, and the surrounding neighborhood that related to that business, which was, I believe, also non-existent. They are a member of Leads Online, which is an organization through Oakland County that we participate in. So if they make a purchase of, or they take something in as collateral, or they buy something that's entered into the system, and everybody, all the police departments get a look at what it was that was purchased or what's held as collateral and who did it. So, and even from that aspect, we haven't had anything coming back to us that we've had to deal with through them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, then I'd lend my support along with Councilman Lennon and Councilwoman Piana.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I said I would lend my support with Councilwoman Piana and Councilman Lennon.
Well, then we need a motion.
Well, can I still have a question?
I have a question too.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Well, my question is a legal one to the lawyer at the table, which is this notion of a deed restriction as satisfying the concern of 2 pawn dealerships. Is your
Yes,
your thoughts of that?
Chair, that would address the particular concern that's been raised. As part of a conditional rezoning, there is a actual conditional rezoning agreement that should be prepared and presented to council. That's not before you this evening.
Right.
That could come at perhaps a later meeting should council entertain the conditional reapproval. But the issue of a deed restriction to its existing property does go to the issue of eliminating the possibility of a dual pawnbroker at its existing location and the new proposed. So it would address that issue.
And if council was so inclined, council could support this evening with the condition that an acceptable deed restriction as reviewed by you or something was.
That's right, and potentially reviewing, subject to your approval of the actual conditional rezoning agreement.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I had one other question, Mel, and that is, you're on the Planning Commission. How did you vote?
I voted no.
And you voted no because of the dual?
Of the dual, right, of the dual pawnbroker licenses.
So in that case, had you known that condition, you would have been a yes, and it would have passed the Planning Commission.
Possibly.
Well, possibly.
I can't,
I mean, I'm just saying, it would have changed your vote.
It would have changed my vote.
Okay. You had questions.
You asked my question about the legal aspects. And so, is that an action that we want to take? If I've heard correctly from legal counsel, is that counsel could choose to sort of table this or come back and have
Well,
conditional.
Again, through the chair, you could, should council wish to approve the request, they could, and a actual conditional rezoning agreement would be brought back to council for approval at as early as its next meeting.
So, okay, so we could do that, then do the second part in September.
You could, that's right.
Yes, sir, we'll give you one more opportunity.
couple of things. One is you guys did talk about parking. Now, code is, I did see the plot, the plan. For every 8 parking spots, you need a handicap. They're talking about 20 parking spots or whatever. So that's 3 handicap spots. Nothing's reflected on that. For every building needs a handicap spot. 3 of those buildings don't have any. And then one has a 35,000 square foot building with 6, 7 parking spots. The other thing is, you're talking about, sounds like you're already, giving this guy permission. Well, you didn't get anything from, the chief over there. He didn't look at any kind of security plan. We have guns in the neighborhood. That, the code around here in Michigan, you're allowed to walk around the neighborhood with a gun. And I can't do anything about it. Now you're talking about all kinds of people. Hoodlums, and I can't go up to them, hey, you got a permit? The other thing is, everyone signed in the neighborhood that we don't want this going on, And, our neighborhood knows about this, not the city of Ferndale or anybody else. So I guarantee the other couple streets, I'm sure you get a lot more protests about this, And the city of Vonia voted them down. They didn't want them, in the Vonia. They were talking about a 10,000 square foot or something building. Oh, and about the licenses, even Derek voted this one down. They have an auto pawn right now in 8 Mile. Now, even Derek said that he didn't want an auto pawn and a pawn shop. So that really, it's not even clarified here.
I'm not understanding this auto pawn.
Okay, excuse me?
Go ahead, proceed.
Okay, there's the auto pawn, okay, that's pretty much his business. That's on 8 Mile. If you go in front of his store on 8 Mile, it says auto pawn. And then, Derek kind of mentioned that he didn't want 2 businesses to run out of the same location. Now, that to me is a problem. And on top of that, in the very first zoning meeting, that these guys said they want to take over that 35,000 square foot building for storage for autos. So, so what's it going to be? You really got to there's a lot of what ifs in this whole thing. And then MDOT, what is it? Well, you really need to get, what's MDOT going to do? Are they going to sign this over? Seriously, are they going to give permission? It's actually a one-way. If you go there, it says do not enter. So I don't know what anyone's talking about. And then if you go in the parking lot, it does say one way.
Where is the do not enter sign?
It is on Bennett Street, sir.
Yeah, it's west of the building, and it's for that little easement between the house and where those row of buildings start.
Correct.
And that's just for going into the easement.
Correct.
Doesn't mean you can go both ways in the parking area.
No, sir. If you go in the parking lot, I got $5 grand in my pocket right now, sir. And I will bet you right now that you go in that parking lot, it says one way. A sign that's, if you look at 8 Mile, it says one
Sign
way.
attached to a barricade that's on the ground most of the time.
No, it's not. It's on a sign, and it's about 5 feet tall, and it says one way, pointed that way. So if you want to bet, if you want to go over there, let's go. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Albright.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Albright, are you purchasing vehicles from from your shop?
I give loans against vehicles. I give loans against.
But you're not storing vehicles there.
No. I take, he keeps referencing back, it's only an auto pawn. I have firearms at my current store. I have jewelry. I have electronics. I have laptops. I have game systems. I have musical instruments. I have tools. I take everything there.
Okay. That's my question.
Also, I don't know if it's in the packet, I do have a letter from MDOT stating that it is in fact a two-way, straight from MDOT.
I know what it is.
Thank you. All right, are there other comments or questions of council?
I just want to say that a security plan normally would be addressed through the site plan approval process, and the city planning department will work with the police department to make sure there's adequate security as part of the site plan approval.
And the applicant just indicated to me as part of the rezoning agreement, they'd be glad to offer that as a condition, that prior to a certificate of occupancy, that they would add that as a condition to any reimbursement agreement, that be provided to the police chief's satisfaction as well.
Thank you.
Motion would be in order.
I move that we approve, the city council approve the conditional rezoning request for 1461 East 8 Mile Road, Motor City Pawnbroker, Sidwell number 2425354590006, with the listed conditions, and that would be, Dan?
As presented.
There's a whole, as presented.
Set forth, is there a date to that particular memorandum?
August 19th.
As there's 10 pre-printed conditions in the city council memo as offered by the applicant.
And do we need to, and Dan, can you give us language on the deed restriction?
And you could also add to that, and that the actual conditional rezoning agreement be brought back to council at its next meeting.
And with the additional agreement being brought back to the council at its next meeting, per our city attorney.
And then one addition per the applicant himself offered up a condition of submitting a security plan as part of the condition. Thank you.
All that. And a bag of chips.
Marty, you're going to figure that out, right? All right, so it was moved by Lennon. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Martin. All right. Any additional discussion or comments of council?
I'm sorry. Greg.
No, go ahead.
I just look forward to the enhancement of that particular area there, because being in this town for as long as I've had, that row of buildings there have been dilapidated, and half of them aren't even occupied. Any improvement down there whatsoever, you put a plant stand down there, it's going to be an improvement.
And then just as a future discussion for council's awareness, this part of 8 Mile on the Ferndale side is rezoned office service, and the Planning Commission 6 years ago rezoned it to office service to try to encourage a different type of use there, but the market hasn't borne the fruits of that intention. And so I think through the master plan process, the Planning Commission will be seriously looking at what are some other types of zoning that could be there that reflects more market-driven interest.
That's a good idea, Milton.
I just wanted to say that, as I said earlier, I had the opportunity to go to the Roseville and the Warren locations, and on those trips, I also talked to residents, because before today, I had never been in a pawn shop. I had no idea what they looked like. I had no idea how they operated, but I did want to talk to residents who lived around there, and spoke to several. The residents around Roseville had no issue with the facility. Had no complaints, did not see any difference in crime, did not feel that their property values declined. However, the difference between Roseville and Ferndale is that there is a very large gap between where the homes are and where the business is. It's not directly across the street. There's actually a large parking lot and storage yard that separates them. Warren is a different facility in that they don't have a warehouse, but the parking is very, very small. I think there's maybe 10 parking spaces, and I noticed, and I'll show on pictures if anyone's interested, that the parking was filled and people were parking on the streets. And that is on a side residential street. And in talking to the residents there, they were not very upset, but their one complaint was the traffic and the parking on the street. They had no issue with crime. They didn't see that their property values, declined, but it was a parking issue. So I have concerns with the location of this facility. I don't think it's the right location. I have no issue with a pawn shop being in Ferndale. I don't think it's going to bring down property values. I just don't think this is the right space for it. I think this is too commercial of operation to be in that location, the way that it's designed. These buildings were designed as industrial. Why they were rezoned is beyond me. They should have kept it as light industrial, and we probably could have filled them a long time ago. But that's my opinion.
I guess I would just say that I share the residents' concerns about some of the potential effects of a business like this in their neighborhood. I am, however, impressed that the applicant has gone to great lengths to try to address them. I am also swayed by not only their 5-year history here of absolutely no issues, including some of the residents that I've talked to that live near there, but also the chief who has assured us tonight that there hasn't been issues there. I know there's a fear of property decline, but we haven't seen that materialized in the other location, or I don't believe in the other locations. So knowing that parking still concerns me, but we're not the site plan review board here, and sir, you know more about the codes and parking requirements than I do, but I leave that to the hands of the experts to tell us if this is satisfactory parking or not. It will be incumbent upon us through law enforcement and code enforcement to make sure that the applicants live up to the promises and conditions that they've stated in here, but I am supportive of this application. Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmembers Lennon?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Polka?
No.
Piana?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. Mr. Lennon has to take a break, but we got one quick item left, and that is regular agenda item C, which is a consideration to repeal Hilton Road building frontage line ordinance. And Derek did so much work on his vacation that he has some more to present to us tonight.
Yeah, it's amazing, huh? Through the review of a project along Hilton, north of Woodward Heights, we've had under review a new condominium building potentially on an existing vacant property. And one of the things that came up as a piece of the title work was what showed up as an easement or a defined by ordinance, adopted by ordinance, 20-foot building setback that we couldn't figure out where it came from or what its intention was. Through research, Justin here in our department did a lot of research with the county and found out that it was an ordinance adopted in 1947 that established a 20-foot building setback on the Hilton Road corridor that is not in keeping with our existing zoning ordinance and setbacks. It actually contradicts it. And creates a 20-foot setback, making these sites even more difficult to develop, especially with any residential type uses. In further research, we found out, I believe it was in 1987 or 89, that the council actually made a motion, which appeared to be at the time a motion to repeal that 1947 setback. In conversations with the city attorney, it was his recommendation that the council actually take the additional step of adopting an ordinance repealing the setback, which we are very much recommending here tonight, to allow the zoning ordinance that's in place to dictate development along the corridor so it's consistent from parcel to parcel, and that we don't have a 20-foot setback that seems to be put in place for what I'm sure at the time was a consideration of an expansion of roadway, and appears is certainly not necessary anymore, limiting the buildable footprint of those parcels which are already significantly small along the corridor. So we're asking council to take the additional action of repealing that ordinance and allowing us to utilize the existing building ordinance to dictate development.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone here from the public that wants to address council on this item? Any Hilton property owners here? I didn't think so, but, all right, council, what is your pleasure or comments, questions on this item?
I'll move that we adopt ordinance 1166 to repeal ordinance number 249, eliminating building lines on the east and west side of Hilton Road within the city of Ferndale.
I support.
Moved by Martin and supported by Piana.
As much as I'd like to keep Derek at the podium longer.
Any other discussions, questions?
I'm not sure how they found it.
I'm surprised Greg didn't find it at 2 a.m.
Well, because to me it wasn't obvious. Honestly, I'm on the ordinance committee, and I reviewed this thing 10 times because Dan kept saying, we need to do this. And I keep saying, they did it, you know, and the way I read it, it's already in effect. So my concern is we're repealing their repeal. And we're going to be right back where we were before.
But Dan, just to be clear, you think this is the appropriate...
In order to repeal an ordinance, you have to do it by an ordinance. So the intent of council back several decades ago was never actually completed. So this will it will reflect the current council's desire, but will be consistent with the prior council.
Who was on that council?
Oh, you're Mayor Lennon.
I believe Mayor Lennon was there.
Mayor Lennon, well, no wonder it was messed up. No, he was a very good mayor, and I don't think he ever forgot to ask for a motion or a second. No, very good mayor. All right, Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Council members Martin?
Yes.
Polika?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. Moving on now to call to council. Chief, we'll start with you. Anything from the police department for the good of the community?
Nothing from the police department this evening, Your Honor, but I would again like to reiterate to invite everybody on September 11th to the Fishbone football game where we will hopefully have a competition between us and maybe even the mayor's desk.
Working on it.
So on. But we will be selling T-shirts. The high school football team will be selling T-shirts to get you into the game. Same price as at the gate as it was. But all of the money will be donated to the Feel Good Foundation, which is an organization that takes care of people that have served at Ground Zero, not the folks that passed away on the evening of September 11th. The folks that went there and helped clean up. That's what this organization does. So we're excited for it, and there'll be more to come with the Sarah and the school district to get ready.
And the mayor of Berkeley and I are working on a friendly wager. I hope to have it nailed down this weekend so I could announce it tonight, but he's shy about what I propose, so he's a more buttoned down fellow than I am. So we'll find something for the mayor and I to compete on for that game.
One moment, Chief, through the chair, if I could, just a point of order. We can talk about Dream Cruise because it was passed and it was really successful. We'll congratulate Mike who left out. But one of the best things I saw at Dream Cruise as I was walking through was the police officers who were on foot and were actually engaging with children and residents, and particularly Officer Janesso Danielson was excellent at it. I watched a number of times. And that's really what community policing and building relationships with police departments is about. And I think your folks just did an outstanding job of it at Dream Cruise. So.
I will pass that on. I'm very happy to hear it, but that's exactly what we want to do is those type of events is to engage not only the kids, but I think we've been successful in all of these special events that we passed the budget.
Yeah, it was particularly noticeable to me at Dream Cruise, so I just wanted to make sure we pointed it out and recognized it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Fire Chief, anything for the fire department this evening? Chief Sullivan.
Your Honor, Council, we also had a project going with William Beaumont Hospital during the Dream Cruise. We trained over 600 people in CPR and 2-minute CPR training with the theory that more people out there trained in compression-only CPR, the chances of survival will go up 200 to 300% if someone were to collapse and have someone trained in how to start CPR immediately. So it was a very successful thing. Roy Loeb tried really hard, and they get a lot more people at Dream Cruise. They only had like 147, not this in them. So he had 600 people.
600 people. Even right in the median of Woodward, I saw for a while. You guys were.
We were snatching them in there like salespeople.
Yeah, that was great. Great.
And the CERT team did a really good job too. They really helped out a lot. They kind of quietly in the background, if anything happened, they'd be there if we needed them.
And another nice job with the fire hose, teaching people how that works and helping demonstrate how to put out a fire. That was great. You can do that every. Well, that too. Thanks, Chief.
Next year, I believe you'll be able to shoot Councilman Polika. No. With the fire hose.
Jenny, anything from the HR department this evening?
Quick things. I just wanted to provide an update regarding our Health and Wellness Center. We have been working very hard to get a little creative to improve utilization at the clinic. Last week, we got a report that we were up to 70%, which is really great. We expected a decline over the summer. People are just naturally healthier, they're vacationing, things of that nature. So in addition, we're looking at some additional measures. We have another community who's looking to join us and is very close to coming on board. And in addition to that, it's opening up for potentially some occupational health services and some other creative ways. So we are very closely monitoring that to ensure the success of our clinic. On the recruitment side, we have quite a few positions that we're wrapping up here the next coming weeks. The deputy city clerk and the payroll and retirement coordinator positions we're working to fill. And in addition to that, we'll be working very hard on filling the captains. We appreciate your support in filling that position. I just had to mention that because Chief Collins
Thank you. Kara, anything from communications and community engagement this evening?
Hello.
Good evening.
I just wanted to provide a quick update of communications regarding the resurfacing and construction projects on Hilton and East 9 Mile. So the city right now is in the midst of rolling out a 3-part infographic series with information about the improvements made during these projects. Typically we would wait till the end and then do an extensive article and kind of explain everything. But with what we were hearing out in the community as well as in the social media world, there were a lot of questions and also a lot of misconceptions. And so we thought it might be better if we could do something to incorporate some information that was graphic and really easily shareable so we could have more people. So the first one we launched just before Dream Cruise, and that one addressed the question we get more than anything, which is what are the green things on the Southern Road? So we answered that. Today we launched our second one, addressing specifically the advantages to forest to free lane conversion.
Yeah.
And then next week we have our third one planned, which will address why the islands were added. Because there's some confusion about that. I work really closely with Lloyd and some of the other CGPW information. And so far, we're getting a lot of additional questions, a lot higher engagement. People, are definitely sharing the infographics and commenting on them, but we're definitely getting a lot of questions. So I would encourage residents to go out there and find them. They're on our Facebook page. They're also on the City of Ferndale's homepage in the news section. And then please comment. Ask us whatever questions you have, and we will, if need be, extend these into further infographics so we can make sure that we get everybody's questions answered.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm so glad we have somebody monitoring the social media, responding there. I know it can be a very time-consuming process because it's so immediate, but you're doing a great job, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Derek, anything else from Economic Development?
Nothing else tonight.
All right. Lloyd, anything from the Department of Public Works this evening?
Nothing tonight, but all about parks at the next meeting.
All about parks at the next meeting. Awesome. Okay. Joe, anything else? Okay. And Marnie, anything from the clerk's office this evening?
Well, actually, first I have
Oh,
something.
wait, I didn't see Jill. I'm sorry, Jill. Anything else from the Recreation Department?
Just a couple quick announcements.
You were hiding behind Joe there. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'd like to congratulate David Tobar. He was not named our Youth Baseball Coach of the Year. Each sports season, we look for that coach that is dedicated to their team, shows enthusiasm for the sport, promotes good sportsmanship through not only their team, but in competition as well. And David Tobar was named our Youth Baseball Coach of the Year, so I just wanted to congratulate him
great.
on a wonderful season. And my second announcement is, save the date, coming up on October 10th is our annual Hilton Fall Festival. Will be held at Atwood Park again from 11 to 4. And will include hay rides, pony rides, carnival games, face painting, arts and crafts activities, bake sale. So look for more information coming on that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We don't have another public comment portion on our agenda, but I see that you want to say something. So if you want to come up briefly, I will give you one more opportunity.
Well, since you passed
Yeah.
the pawn shop, I was just wondering, please, if police could put extra security at Bennett and Wanda.
Okay. There's the big dog. I mean, we're not going to answer you tonight, but I hear that's
Five women
that that's
in
what you
that
would
block
like.
that own homes, and we're probably all moving. And it's just too bad.
Marnie, anything from the clerk's office this evening?
Yes, but the library also wanted me to make an announcement, since they aren't able to be here, that the Loving Touch is hosting a library benefit concert. Patrons can enjoy 8 bands at the Pabst Blue Ribbon sponsored event for just $5 this Friday at 8 p.m. And as for the clerk's office, I want to announce that we are reinstating the Champions of Democracy program that Sherilyn had started a few years back. We are very interested in recruiting new additional precinct inspectors. We've been working with an election task force, of which Councilman Pollock is a member of, and we've been having some great meetings. And one of the things that we're really working on is recruiting more inspectors, because as our precincts expand to 9 next year, we're trying to implement partial day shifts so that people don't get as burned out by the 6 a.m. to when the cows come home shift. So, applications are available online. They're also at City Hall, and you can call the clerk's office for more information. You can make up to $185 for the day, so it is a pretty good deal for those who would like to participate. So please contact the city clerk's office if you'd like to work an election.
Question.
Yes.
So next year, the precincts are going to expand till 9?
Correct.
What election?
March.
The March
There will
election,
be
which
a
is
March
presidential.
8, 2016 presidential primary. So by the end of this year, you will be receiving my request to expand our precincts back to 9 to reduce some of the wait times that we had at the last presidential election.
Which I very much appreciate. I think it's a good idea. I have a concern that next year is our busiest election year with a presidential election coming up next year. So when you, and I'm sure you're already thinking about this, and fortunately Kara's on board because I'm guessing she might have a piece of this, but I would like to know what the, honestly, I'm not even sure where I vote anymore because it's changed like 3 times in the last 4 major elections. So I would be curious to see what the communications plan is going to be around making sure that people know. And it's going to have to be, Carrie, you're going to have to put your thinking cap on because it's been very confusing. And this is not the year that we want to further confuse people.
Right. Well, unfortunately, there are several locations that we don't have the option of not
Yep, no,
changing.
and I don't think you shouldn't not change, but the communications next year is going to be critical around that. So just share with us the plan around that. I knew you would be. Thank you.
And if I may, through the
Well, as a member of the voter task force committee, I can tell you that there are some incredible ideas of educating the public and letting them know, even on election day, whether or not they're at the correct location.
I knew you guys were on it.
And I just also like to add coordination with the county parties because it does impact our precinct delegate allocation and the location of where they live, as well as our representatives at the county and state conventions. So there's an impact broader.
Would you mind if I contacted you later on to?
Be happy to coordinate.
Thank you.
Yep.
April, anything from the city manager's office
Just a few
this evening?
things. First and foremost, I want to remind the public that we are closed on Monday, September 7th, in honor and observance of Labor Day. I also want to make an announcement. As you know, last year we started a program with a service line warranty program. And we have, in the fall, they have, we promote it 2 different times, in fall and winter, and they separate those sewer and water. So in the fall, in the middle of September, our residents will be getting correspondence from the service line warranty company regarding the sewer line. And I also wanted to use this opportunity to update you on how it's been utilized to date.
Oh, that's good.
We have had, for the sewer line warranty, 962 people have signed up for that, 962 households. For the water line warranty, we've had 584 residents utilize that. Out of that, we have had 55 claims from the sewer line, of which almost 32,000 in claims were paid out for that. And then in the water line, we've had 1 claim, and in all of those claims, none of them were denied. So it is being used. It's a great tool, and Kara will be on board for the first time on this one, which we will do some pre-promotions because also there's other companies that tend to piggyback on when those go out, and they send out that information too. Now, people can choose whatever one they want, but this is the one that the city did the research on and knows that they are what they say they are. So again, that's called the service line warranty, and they're expecting those letters to go out the week of September 15th through the 25th, and we will continue to promote. But I thought those numbers were great, and we'll continue to share those.
Thank you.
And then one last thing, too, I just want to wish Joe the best. When he comes back next time, he'll be a married man. So good luck these next 2 weeks getting ready. And yeah.
As the song goes, huh?
That's all I have.
Love it. Great. Dan, anything from else? All right. Mayor Pro Tem Martin, anything from?
No, I have nothing
Good.
further, Your Honor.
All right. Councilman Lennon.
Negatory, nothing tonight.
All right, Councilman Pollica.
I have one thing, which is very, very outdated, but remember way back when in May 16th, Clean the Ferndale Up, we also had a collection of recyclable items, household waste, chemicals, oils, paints, electronics, all that stuff. I have the figures. I've actually had them for quite a while, so I apologize. But we had 2,170 pounds of electronics, 1 garbage can of shredding, and 4 pickup truckloads of household hazardous waste.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, compared to Hazel Park, they had 1,900 pounds in electronics, 1 garbage can of shredding like we did, but no hazardous waste. And Huntington Woods, which I guess has been doing it for several years, they had 7,581 pounds of electronics, big electronics. 2 large rolling carts of shredding, but no hazardous waste. So we did really well for our first year.
Yeah, we did. Great. Appreciate it, and thank you for championing that. Councilwoman Piana.
Yeah, I have like 5 or 6 things. I'm kidding, I have nothing.
And on that note, I have nothing either. Meeting adjourned. That's great.